Hello and welcome to the first video in PM Square's series, The 10 Steps Any Customer Should Know Before Implementing a Planning Solution. Based on the ebook by the PM Square team, which can be found at the URL shown on the screen. In this video, we'll be talking about requirements analysis. So as far as requirements analysis, before you start your whole process of finding a planning solution, you're going to want to look inward. You're going to want to do a full overview of the business. Look at your current processes, timelines, schedules, who all is involved, and how that plays out during your planning cycle. Document all of those so that you have that ready going into your project. Look at the staff and teams involved. Are you only planning within the Office of Finance, or is manufacturing, sales, HR department involved with planning as well? And look at the softwares that you are currently using. A very good source of information is the report book and the planning templates you're currently using, because those are going to show you what your time periods are, which versions you compare, whether that be forecast, budget, actual, and multiple different versions of forecasts and budgets, and looking at the different organizational units you might use. So are you planning by product? Are you planning by department or cost center or business unit? Looking at that report book is going to give you some pretty good clues about that. And finally, what are the project team members? Do you have some candidates in mind? Do people have the bandwidth to take on such a project? Are they interested? Do they have the aptitude? Do you need to hire outside of the organization? These projects take some time, so sometimes it's a wise move to bring in some new hires specific to the project to get it going. Next, desired deliverables. So one big deliverable that most folks are looking for is a synchronized planning environment, especially if you're coming from the world of Excel. You get the big benefit of everyone playing out of the same playbook, having a centralized data repository. So all of the planning data will be coming from the same hub. So right when you program or put in data into a cell and press enter, that is available to your coworker in another department and summed up to the grand total level in the top level of the organization. So that is a big deliverable that most clients are seeking. Next, removal of pain points. Typically, the big pain point is manual operations, manual tasks. So what do we desire to get rid of? How can we make that planning process, planning cycle more efficient? So deciding, what's causing pain, what's the most manual efforts, and how do we incorporate that into our solution? Process efficiencies. So by documenting out the planning cycle and seeing what steps are involved, it unlocks some wisdom into what can we combine, what can we get rid of, how can we remove the manual intervention, how can we remove the switching from one program or one team member to another, and really streamline those tasks in the planning cycle. And lastly, let's not forget about blue sky enhancements. We don't want to just do a typical lift and shift and replace the technology behind our current planning solution with a new technology, but still doing the same process. We'd like to take advantage of new features being offered. That might involve adding additional nuance to our planning processes, like adding in a sales planning model or a CapEx planning or HR planning, but it could also involve having a predictive planning model to derive insights and use algorithms to project our planning data. So a whole lot of new features out there that we can go and look into if we put some items on our wish list. All right, digging further into consolidation and integration. Very important we review, audit all the current information systems in use. So how many different softwares play into our current planning solution? And if we have several, well, that's costing us money because the upkeep of the licensing, the training, software maintenance and patches, and different hardware infrastructure, that's all costs money and time. So if we're going to a new solution, we can look into combining and consolidating some of those systems. So maybe a new solution for our planning process can combine some of those efforts and thus reduce the total cost of ownership. Lastly, let's talk about the project team. So we're going to need, first off, a sponsor. It's probably going to be your boss, someone who's going to have final approval over funding and project decisions, and also known as the project owner. Secondly, a champion. That's probably you, the person who's going out and doing the legwork and getting the organization ready to take on this new technology. So they're going to champion the cause and lead the charge through all the pre-project work, aid in the selection of the solution, the implementation team involved, and carrying it over to the finish line. Project leads, that's going to be some of your colleagues who are also equally excited to implement the planning solution and equally as committed and have the time to do so. And ultimately, the three of you will likely carry the solution into the future once the project goes live. IT liaison, you're going to want someone in the Office of IT, typically the champions coming from the Office of Finance. So it's great to have a member of the IT organization for the security requirements, the software infrastructure, also helpful in the sales cycle to determine the technical requirements and if it fits the needs of the organization. And often overlooked, we have the change manager. Every project needs a change manager to market and publicize the project to all personnel across the organization so that everyone is ready to receive the technology when it goes live. The last thing we want to have is for a project to go on the shelf after go live because everybody wasn't ready or wasn't excited about this new change. So that's where a change manager can be very effective in preparing the organization for the new technology and the great things it's going to do. That wraps up requirements analysis. Thanks for watching. If you got value from this, please like and subscribe to the PM Square YouTube channel, share with your colleagues, and be sure to read our ebook. Thank you.